All right, we'll start as we always do with questions that have been submitted by you guys. Go to cottoncuts.com/live to submit your question for next week's show. What's the most challenging part of choosing a color palette for a quilt? Trusting your instincts or following traditional color theory? If we're buying pre-cut kits, or we're in programs, or we go to a quilt shop and we see a quilt and we buy the fabric for it, we buy kits, like all that color coordination and curation is done for us. We don't have to think about it. Someone else has done it, and we know what the finished product is going to look like because we have trust in the process and we have trust in the fabrics that have been selected. But if you find this pattern and you find it online and you're like, I want to make this pattern, choosing your own fabrics can be challenging because sometimes you can try and match to the pattern, which works most of the time. But say you see this pattern and instead of blues and greens, you want to make it in reds and pinks. Right now, you've got to stretch out and help come up with a color palette that's going to work for that project. But I would say for quilters, it comes down to the super simple stuff. And so this is here for a reason. Paula must have known that we were going to need this today. So it comes down to the real simple stuff. So I think I was maybe in 4th grade when I learned in art class what primary, secondary, and tertiary colors were. And so at this little guy here, this is kind of an advanced version of the color wheel you learned in grade school. But these come in lots of different places. You can find these in paint shops. You can find these in fabric shops. You can find these literally anywhere where color is used. And it's a good reference for what a primary color is, a secondary and a tertiary color is. And so if you want colors that are going to contrast, you want to go as far away across the color wheel as you possibly can from your color of interest. If you want things that are going to blend a little more, you're going to go a little bit off at about a 30-degree angle. I know quilters know that. So about a 30-degree angle. Or if you want something that's going to look very, very similar, you want to choose things that are more adjacent on the color wheel. And so I like this because it gives you kind of different gradients of color, which is also tint and hue. But then it also tells you what will look very nice in a blend category versus what's going to give you the highest amount of contrast. And I feel like when we're quilting and we're coming up with patterns, we're more interested in what is going to blend and what is going to offer contrast. And then, of course, we talk about prints and scale. So that's kind of the second tier down. But from a color perspective, most quilters are most interested in blending and contrasting. And so I feel like the simplified color wheel is the best place to start versus getting really wrapped up in, this print has 10% or this print has 80% white and this color has 80% black. Like, don't get necessarily super wrapped up in this gradient, but more just what is adjacent to what is kind of a little further away, and then what will have the highest level of contrast. So from a quilter perspective, the words that I really hinge on are contrast and blend. And then from there, I start taking a look at scale of prints. And so we've talked about scales of prints before. If you take a quilt and it's all large scale print, it is going to visually assault your eyes. You have to have a smaller scale print and give your eyes places to rest. Otherwise, it is going to be a seizure on a quilt. And we definitely do not want that. So make sure that you're considering scale and that you're considering places for your eyes to rest when you're pairing it with large scale prints. You can also do a print that is all entirely small scale. I don't think we've talked about that. So let's take a minute. So you can definitely do a quilt that is all small scale prints. Those are going to read more traditionally like a solid because a smaller scale print is going to blend into the background more while still giving it visual interest. So it's like a solid plus. It is just a little bit more than a solid when you have a smaller scale print. And so when you're doing small scale prints, definitely put them away and step back and make sure that the color it is reading as is the one that you want. And again, reference this lovely because when you step back, this is the color you're going to see in a smaller scale print. And these are the ones that you're going to want to reference as you're looking for what's going to blend and what's going to contrast with what you've got. Don't go all in on like super in depth and start analyzing. But I think that, sometimes you got to go with your gut. And I have had an inspiration photo for colors before, and I thought I was on the right track and it turned out to be a mess. But then I've also had it be quite successful in the past. So I think it's instinct and experience and also practice, right? The more that you practice with these colors, the more you're going to learn off the bat without even needing to use this, what looks good together and what does not look good together. And I definitely want to get you, Janet, out of the trap of thinking that if I have a collection, I can only use fabrics in that collection. That is a gross misnomer. You can mix, match, and blend across a lot of different collections. And that is truly how you get the deepest, richest effects on your quilts and projects.